fun songs here on Stay Home with Lazlo. A lot of S's there. I'm glad I didn't get tongue-tied there. Frank Petrucci ended that set with Mary's Atlantic City Sun, which is kind of a good way to intro into City Line, a completely different sounding band. But we've got DJ from City Line on the phone with us right now, who has a new single out that I believe is about Atlantic City's Boardwalk Playground. How are you doing today, DJ?
I'm good, Lazlo. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. So the video for the song is definitely about Atlantic City's Boardwalk. Was that the inspiration for you writing this instrumental?
Absolutely. I mean, Boardwalk Playground, I even kind of used Atlantic City's nickname. I believe for years it's been called America's Playground or the Playground of the East Coast or something like that. So that was really the inspiration for it. Atlantic City has been relatively good to me. I have family that live outside of Atlantic City, so we've been visiting there since I was a kid. So fond memories of being in and around Atlantic City, both before I was of gambling age and after, so to say. So it's definitely heavily inspired that song.
If you have good memories after you became legally gambling age, and you've obviously won and not lost.
Yeah, it hasn't been too bad. So, I mean, everyone has their ups and downs, but I would definitely say more good memories than the bad ones you try to forget.
That is very good. So, the video, is that all stock footage that you spliced together for the video?
Yeah, so I received permission from the one of the video, which is more of the daytime video, is actually of Wildwood's Boardwalk, and that was shot by a friend of mine from high school. His name's Chris Pelly. If anyone watches the video on YouTube, his account handle's on there. He does a great job with drone footage. He's gotten into doing weddings and stuff, so I reached out to him saying, hey, I'm looking for some boardwalk footage, and he kindly sent me a bunch of stuff. And then the other footage is from a gentleman named Eddie, who I got permission from on YouTube to use it. So it was just something that I happened to see long ago, actually. It was probably a couple months ago I saw that, and I took some time to try to, find it. I desperately searched through YouTube, and I did find it and sent the gentleman a message, and he was nice enough to give me the go-ahead to use it.
So did you... I'm curious, this song, because it just came out a week ago, Did this whole song come up after the lockdown started, or was this something you were working on prior to that?
No, it was actually something that I had kind of just come up with in a couple of days. I've seen a lot of musicians out there writing songs, performing live streams and such. So I kind of took it upon myself to challenge myself to see what can I do in a couple of days. So it only took 2 or 3 days, I would say, to record that whole thing, from the whole process from writing it and recording it. I mean, if anyone out there has listen to it, or when you play it, anyone out there will probably pick up. They're heavily influenced by the band Rush. They're one of my favorite bands of all time, and they did a lot of instrumental stuff. So it definitely has that 80s-esque, if that's even a term, and that 80s-esque instrumental type sound from those progressive rock bands from back in those 70s, 80s eras.
Yeah, I definitely heard the hard prog rock type of sound to it.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was going for, and one of the things that I really wanted to do was tell a story. I mean, there's multiple parts of the songs that kind of connect to each other, things that, while there's a guitar solo and there's guitar parts with melodies that do things only once, there are parts of the songs that I really wanted to tie back. So what you're going to hear at the first minute and a half or 2 minutes, you're going to hear repeated later on, and that was really kind of a goal that I wanted, whereas with a vocal song, you may not necessarily revisit some of those parts from earlier in the song as you're writing it.
And then you got Chris to do the drums on it. Did he do that from his house and then send it to you? Is that how that worked?
Yeah, so this time this time he did. Usually he comes to my home where we do all of our recording. He lives in Philadelphia right now, so even more stringent than over here in South Jersey. I don't think he's even supposed to leave his apartment over there. I'm not sure what his entire situation was, but we said it would just be safer for him to do it, and luckily he has enough of the equipment to make it sound good enough to then send it over to me.
I'm glad that worked out, because the drums add another layer to the song.
Yeah, and I mean the one thing that Chris always has said is he tries to come up with his own style, but at the same time he's very heavily influenced by the bands that he listens to. I introduced him to Rush a long time ago, and while he isn't necessarily the biggest Rush fan, he understands that how important to drumming Neil Peart is. So he always tries to have that kind of sound. Of course, partially my fault, I guess you could say. I've kind of steered him in that direction over the years, but he definitely does everything he can to make the drums its own instrument rather than just something that's there in the song.
It's funny you keep mentioning Rush, which makes sense for that, but on your last EP, and I didn't even recognize it because I don't know REO Speedwagon back catalog as well as maybe I should. You covered Tough Guys on there, which seemed a little strange for a guy who likes Rush to also like REO Speedwagon.
Yeah, it's quite funny. My musical taste spans many different eras and many different styles of music. And the funny thing is, the first time I ever really got introduced to REO Speedwagon, I saw Styx. I think it was in Atlantic City, funny enough. And REO Speedwagon was opening. I had seen Styx before, another 80s band that I'm a big fan of. And I wasn't too familiar with REO, but after seeing them live, I was absolutely hooked. So for some reason, Tough Guys was a song that really I latched onto, and I know it's not one of their more popular songs. I think it's from the back half of their High Infidelity record, so it's not a song like Keep On Loving You that you hear on the TV all the time in commercials and stuff. So I wanted to try to give it a shot at doing that song, and I think it came out relatively well. So I was definitely happy with it.
Yeah, it was nice to hear that, and it actually made me delve a little deeper into REO Speedwagon's catalog because all I knew was their top 40 stuff from the early 80s, and frankly, I've heard that stuff so much, I never need to hear it again.
Yeah, it's one of those things where they're a band that kind of, like a lot of those bands, I'm a big Journey fan as well. It's bands that don't really put out anything new these days, but they're still able to, live off of stuff that's pretty much timeless at this point, since it's been 30, 40 years since some of this stuff has been released.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff is, yeah. Now I feel old because all those songs came out.
I did not intend to do that, Lazlo.
It's all right. I'm in my 40s. I'm old, or older at least. So
no worries.
So I know you did a live performance, acoustic performance. I guess it was on Facebook. Is that what you used for your live stream the other night?
Yes, sir. I gave it a shot a couple weeks ago as a test run right when all of this was starting, and then I was supposed to perform at an open mic at a local brewery down here in southern New Jersey that night, Thursday night, but of course due to current events that didn't happen, so I decided to perform an acoustic live stream, which was nice because, an open mic, you're going to really only play 2-3 songs at most. I was able to perform for a solid half hour at that. So would I have preferred to be able to go out and perform in front of people? Absolutely. But, you got to make do with what you can at this point.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing the live streams now as a way to, try and have something going because who knows how long this is going to last. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I've seen things where people are trying to be optimistic and say it'll be a month or two. I've seen some people say that we won't get back to live concerts until 2021. So, I mean, whether you're someone like me who just does it for fun or if you're someone who does it for a living full time, I think first off you got to find the joy in it, which I think almost all musicians do, I would hope. But if this is a way to make a living, I applaud anyone that tries to put themselves out there in that way, because I mean, even I get nervous when I do a live stream and I'm just sitting in a room by myself. I can't imagine what someone who's used to performing in front of thousands of people feels. So, like I said, I guess you just kind of have to make do with it what you can in the interim while this is all going on.
So you were telling me off air that you have another live acoustic stream coming up soon. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so every year I perform down here funny enough, it's just outside of Atlantic City since we've been talking about that so much. It's called Elephants for Autism. It's run by a gentleman named Jerry Ryan, and I'll give him a slight shout out on this if he ever hears this. But Jerry does a lot for the local music scene down here. There really is a strong difference between the South Jersey music scene and the Philadelphia music scene, and Jerry does a lot for both, but he does a lot for South Jersey, and he puts on a couple of different 3-day festivals at local venues down here. And Elephants for Autism is one that I've been doing for, I think this is my 5th year doing it as City Line. It might be 4. I honestly don't remember off the top of my head, but unfortunately because of the, of current events, they couldn't have it, in person. So he decided to take everything and do it online, and he's giving everyone an opportunity to perform on their own live streams at their original set times, which is cool. So long story short, mine is Saturday, April 25th at 5:45 p.m. It's going to be on the City Line Facebook page. There is an Elephants for Autism Facebook group if you wanted to search that and join anyone out there interested. And then that's where everything, all the live streams for the whole weekend are going to be shared. So me specifically, April 25th at 5:45 p.m.
Nice. And your Facebook page is facebook.com/CityLineBand for those listeners.
Yeah. Yes, sir. And I think nowadays you can search Facebook with the with handles as well. It's at City Line Band on Facebook. And then, of course, Twitter, Instagram, same thing, at City Line Band.
So it's funny, I had mentioned the REO Speedwagon song on your last EP, but the song that I keep coming back to lately that seems to sort of fit everything that's going on right now is Light of Hope. I don't know that you necessarily wrote it for a situation like this, probably not, but it seems kind of fitting in some ways.
Yeah, it is funny. I wrote that song late last summer, so long before any of this was even thought about. Of course, certain people may have been thinking about it at the time, but most of us weren't. So that song is pretty funny in that it's really it's only about, it's about the big Comcast tower in Philadelphia. And I'm not kidding when I say that. A lot of times my second job that I do has me on the road late at night and usually driving down 95 towards Philly to come back into New Jersey. And for some reason, one night I was looking at the skyline and I saw that big tower standing out among all the other lights, and it gave me an idea for a song. And really, I guess it was the idea that no matter where you are in this area, if you get the right sight line, whether you're in South Jersey, Southeast PA, Northeast Philly, if you got the right sight line, you can see that building. And for some reason, that was just a really cool idea that many people in many different areas could see this one thing. So that was really kind of the, albeit very interesting, inspiration. That was kind of the inspiration for the fact that so many people can see one thing and see it from many different directions. And that's kind of true about life as well, and a lot of things in life.
That's awesome to get that background on the song. I'm glad I asked about it.
Yeah, and it's funny that song more, I think, has kind of my modern day musical influences. A lot of my influences these days are, I love the Gaslight Anthem, who are kind of from up your way, that North Jersey-ish area. And I know Brian Fallon.
But
yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I love the Gaslight Anthem, Brian Fallon. I love a lot of newer bands that have kind of those soaring chorus lines and everything. So that's really where that inspiration came from. That song is more my modern musical influences.
It's funny, the whole north, south, central New Jersey thing, because people who live in northern New Jersey consider where I live, which is about, a half hour south of New Brunswick and a half hour north of Asbury Park, as being South Jersey. And the people in South Jersey think of me as being in North Jersey. So I'm we're in the center of the state.
Yeah, it's funny. They always say that if you just drew a line across Trenton, that would be it. But I don't know. I work in Camden, which is north of where I am right now. So technically that would be north, but we all know that's South Jersey. So I've never really ever known where that line is drawn. It is funny, though, that depending on where you live is the way you see the rest of the state.
And I remember people used to say to me, you have Wawas where you are, because apparently at the time northern New Jersey did not have Wawas. I think it's changed in the intervening years.
Yeah, it's funny. The Wawas were the way to describe it, and I know in certain parts of the state it's about what exit you are off the Parkway. So Down here, I don't really know how we identify ourselves, but it is funny how everyone can kind of distinguish where they are.
So while you're on this quarantine thing, has it given you the impetus to write more music?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely from both the time perspective and from the inspiration perspective. I mean, obviously everyone now has time on their hands to be able to do it, but it's really about the inspiration. And there was a period of time in my life where I felt like I was cranking out songs left and right. Lyrically, of course, 99% of them I never got around to actually writing music for. But for me personally, it's just about what hits me in the moment, and it has really gotten me to a point where I have the time to sit down, but also I have the inspiration. So with how well received Boardwalk Playground has been, I'm not quite sure moving forward what we're going to do in terms of new stuff, but definitely I've got some stuff in the woodworks, in planning and everything since we've got all this time on our hands.
So there's a possibility of more singles or maybe even an EP in the near future.
Yeah, and I mean, the one thing that we're definitely working on is, unfortunately, I'll admit, if you go back and listen to some of the first City Line stuff that came out, the quality of the recording itself wasn't very good. And that's something we're going to revisit. I've been telling people that I know we're revisiting the early days of City Line later this year. So we're going to do that. And then in terms of another full release sometime in the future, I've been working on an acoustic EP because I perform mostly live acoustic solo these days. So I've been trying to recreate that in a quote-unquote studio setting. But if I ever get that finished, I'll try to get that out soon. But in terms of that would just be my own music that I already have out. But in terms of brand new stuff, definitely want to try to crank some stuff out here as we can over the course of time.
Oh, that's awesome that you've kind of got several different things going on then. Because we're recording the older stuff, and I know what you're saying with the older stuff. I love the songs, but the recordings were a little demo-ish.
Yeah, then that's the thing. When I first started working on the City Line stuff, I had no idea how to properly mix and master stuff. And that first EP that we did in 2015, I guess it would have been, I listened to it, and of course, in the moment, you love it because you've spent all this time working on it, and you love it when it first comes out. And then hindsight, you look back a couple months later and you go, wow, this is awful. You put it up against something that is professionally done, and you realize how thin it sounds, how unmixed it sounds. So I spent countless hours researching how to properly mix and do things. And even then, the stuff that came out after that wasn't great compared to other things. But it's definitely something I've been working on, not perfecting per se, but improving over the years. And I want to go back and I want to make that older stuff a better quality for sure. And I'm going to try to get to that sometime this year.
Nice. Hopefully, with that downtime now, as long as Chris can record his drum parts at his place and send them to you, you can make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the other thing I will say. That first release that we did that we're going to go back and try to redo this year, he didn't play drums on. That was me, and you can very clearly tell. As much as I tried to hide it, you can very clearly tell it was me who's not really a drummer. So having a true drummer on it, I think, will make it better in tenfold, just to have that better, not only quality in the drum recording, but better quality in the actual musician playing the part.
Nice. So people can check out the new single at citylineband.bandcamp.com. The video is on your YouTube page as well as being on blowupradio.com. Is there anything else that you want to plug right now?
No, I mean, other than that, I mean, I've got that live stream coming up, which is going to be, I think it's going to be great to see a multi-day music festival take place online. I definitely think it'll reach far more people than it would if we were doing it in person. But I mean, just to plug something else upcoming, depending on how everything goes, I'm supposed to have another open mic at a local brewery down here on May 7th. Crossing fingers that maybe everything improves and we can do that in person. But if not, we'll do another live stream, and we'll keep going from there. But I really appreciate you, Lazlo, for giving Boardwalk Playground the airtime coming up, and for giving the plug online for the music video. It's something we're really happy with, and the amount of people it's reached in just a couple weeks far surpasses anything we've done. So anyone that's out there listening, I appreciate it, and Lazlo, I appreciate you giving us the City Line, giving City Line some love as well.
Oh, I'm happy to do it. I've been playing you guys, I guess, for about 5 years now, probably, because I remember the early stuff.
Yeah, I think that first release we put out, you played either Days of Old or Big Days. So I promise you, in a couple months, we'll have better quality of that coming out. It'll be new, but it'll be old at the same time. So hopefully we can get that over to you sometime this summer.
Yeah, I'm looking. I have both of them, and I actually have a remastered version of Big Days that you sent me at some point.
Yeah, that was a remaster where I think the only thing we did redo at the time would have been the vocals, and otherwise everything else was just taken from the original recording, and I tried to remix it and master it. But what we're doing now, we're going to go through, we're going to re-record everything from scratch. All 5 songs on that first EP are going to get redone from the bottom up, so hopefully we can improve it.
Well, nice. I know the songs are there, and if you can get up that recording quality, so much the better.
Absolutely. We'll see what we can do.
Well, thanks so much for calling in, DJ. This is Boardwalk Playground right now here on Stay Home with Lazlo.